A business transformation, I think one way of thinking about it is if you're flying along in an aeroplane, some people are flying the plane, and sometimes what a transformation feels like is somebody's trying to rebuild the plane or improve the plane while the plane's flying along. That's how transformations can feel. And what they are, they're really essentially change programs focused on helping a company improve their business results. Well, I think you need both. So I think, the executive teams are going to have very good ideas about transformation projects, but anybody who's been working in a business or has worked in the industry for a while will also have good ideas. So I think what's really important is that there's an innovation process in place that allows a company to collect and evaluate ideas for change from all stakeholders in the business. I think that's important because firstly it will allow the best ideas to be collected, and secondly it will allow some control to be exercised over what's actually kicked off and what's not kicked off. And in that sense I think there are projects that are bottom up, that start in, people talk about shadow IT for example. I do think it's important to have control of budgeting so that it's clear where projects are starting, where they're not starting, who has the power, if you like, to approve them and who doesn't. And I think two things come to mind there. I think first of all it is really important that any change is understood, as I've said earlier, that the goal of that change is clear and that there is a process for approving those changes. That's the first thing. And then I think secondly, not everybody in an organization is built for change. Some people don't like change, some people don't want to work on change programs. So I think it can be helpful to have two workforces, to have a business as usual workforce, but why not have a career model for people that enjoy change, that want to go down a project manager, program manager career track. Why not encourage that? And I think then augment that career model with a good selection of partners that can bring in expertise and scale at the right times to support larger transformation programs. A lot of large-scale enterprise projects were run using the waterfall methodology, where you go through discrete phases and the output of the project essentially comes at the end of the project. So it can take 2 years before the end product comes out for a particular country, for example. Now with Agile, I think Agile it's all about managing change. It's about balancing the need to be reactive with the ability to have a plan. So I think Agile makes things easier in that respect. Things can be steered on a weekly basis through essentially analyzing the product backlog of a particular project. The pace of change is faster, definitely. I think there's less time for planning. There's potentially less emphasis put on planning. It is more of an iterative, let's say, fortnightly process, depending on the scrum, the frequency of scrums, etc. Yeah, definitely. And allows the end users to feed in their requirements as the market is changing as well. Yeah. So you can just change course. I think what I've learned over the last, say, 5 years of my career is that it often makes sense to do a pilot. So people talk about, grand scale, big bang type change projects, but my view now, having experienced many different types of projects, is that if you can do a small scale, minimum viable product that can really help just to prove the concept and help avoid a situation where you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time developing something that's not going to be fit for purpose at the end. Over the last few years, I decided to move into independent consulting. It's been good for me. In a sense, it's a purer way of working because you can focus on the outcome that your client really needs. I can give more impartial advice, and the rewards are good, and it does allow for more freedom with busy family life, such as the one I have at the moment. Well, there's quite a few projects I've really enjoyed, but probably, and I've thought about this in the past quite a bit, what is my favorite project? Which one did I, if you like, learn the most from? And there was one project I did, it was 9 months in duration. It was about helping a distressed business release cash. And I was brought in to lead that project. And I honestly think the thing I enjoyed the most about it was when I left, when the project was over, I know that we had helped that business. They were in a better financial situation. The journey wasn't easy. There were a lot of people in the business who were quite worried about their future. So it was a challenge to get the various stakeholders across the business in IT, in sales, in manufacturing, in finance, in HR, aligned on what we were trying to achieve. But we did come in with a plan, and it took a month or two, but we did get everybody on board. And I think what I enjoyed the most was once we got everybody on board and we saw everybody working together, it really drove the results that were needed for the business. That was probably my favorite project. I would say one thing that's really important is to, if you are going to work at an organization, try and make sure that it matches your own values. So if you want to do something great for society, work for a company or an organization that's going to do something great for society. That will help you through the pressures of your workday. I think that's one thing. I think secondly, if you're looking at a career in transformation work, I talked a little bit earlier about some of the different types I've done. I think today technology's a key driver of change, and I think having at least a rudimentary understanding of technology and how it's changing society and changing business is important. I think not knowing about it will limit you. And finally, I would say it's really important to do growth projects. In transformation, if you want to move into leadership roles, if you want to grow, don't keep doing the same sorts of projects. If that's what you want, fine, but if you want to grow, really focus on doing the next big thing and try and push yourself to do more. I do think it's really important to build your network, and it's something that I had a bit of a network, and I'd say I got lucky at the start, but I've put more effort into building out my network and staying in touch with people. And the network I have is a mix of people I've worked with in the past, companies like yours, Fresh Minds, and I try to do my best to stay in contact and make sure that people know I'm maybe in the market looking for an opportunity.